All right, guys, we are back in my garage for another video, and unfortunately, it was another year where I didn't make it to TX2K, but thankfully from social media and a lot of friends that were there, I was able to get some updates on how everything did. And the scary part is I almost had to say that the S58 is better than the B58, but thankfully we won't have to worry about that anytime soon. So in this video, we're going to talk more about the results and the new records that were broken. Some of it you've probably already seen, but I'll try to give you some more details on the cars and what actually happened so you have a full idea of how the event went. So let's go ahead and talk about it, and hopefully you guys find this video useful. Now, before we jump into this, I got to ask you a question. How fast do you think the B58 and S58 platforms are going to be? Could potentially a BMW B58 take the crown from the Supra at some point, or will the S58 finally pass the B58? Let me know what your predictions are. Leave a comment down below. But let's go ahead and start off with the car that probably got the most attention, Tom Wrigley's BMW M3. And if you guys don't know, Tom Wrigley is from the UK. So he is over there doing a lot of great stuff. He originally got on my radar when he built his M140i. It went from stock turbo to hybrid turbos to a full top mount turbo kit. And it even got an X-Drive conversion because the M140i's only came in rear wheel drive apparently. So he was able to swap his car over to all-wheel drive and break a bunch of records over in the UK. But this time he decided to really make a statement. He built this BMW M3 and shipped it over to the United States to race it in Texas. And like I said, was able to break the S58 record. Now, unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot of details about the car and the actual build, but you can imagine, of course, it's a built engine and transmission. It is also custom tuned on MHD with a motive reflex. So kind of the tried and true combination, same thing that you use to flash your off-the-shelf maps with, he used to tune his cars, but it was tuned by More BHP over in the UK. Mike Ball is the owner, and he got that car set up on the dyno to make 1,650 wheel horsepower and 1,850 Newton meters. Although I will say one thing that stood out to me is when they popped the hood on his car, you could see that he ditched the traditional air-to-water intake manifold setup. And so I thought that he was running an air-to-air front mount like a lot of people were running. But he actually has a Garrett core. You can see it in some of the images right in his front bumper. So that's very similar to the S58 swapped M240 that we saw at PRI last year. He's basically running a much bigger core than you could probably fit in the factory location to get better cooling. So seems like it definitely worked based on the results that he had this year. So yeah, obviously the car is very capable. I don't know the exact turbo setup and everything, but it does seem like at least it has a built head by Head Games since they mentioned it on their page as well. And maybe it has a stroker engine. So very capable setup, but he decided it was time to get the car on the track and see what it would do. So his weekend went very well, and shout out to 1320 Video for posting all of these clips. They've got multiple hour-long videos of every day of TX2K, so highly recommend checking them out if you want to see all of the footage. But for Tom, his first pass was a 7.8, which did really well. You know, it put him up at the #1 qualifier at the time, but eventually he was passed, and so he continued racing. And so he came back out on day 3, and the round of qualifying, he was able to break the S58 record and ran a 7.67 at 183 miles an hour. So that obviously is incredible. Not only did he break the record, but he broke the record in the United States, where a lot of people have been bragging for a long time about how fast the cars in the US are and nobody can touch us. And clearly he came to our playground and broke the record in our backyard. So really crazy accomplishment. And then on top of that, he went multiple rounds through eliminations, made it to the finals, and actually won the X58 class. So the X58 class is the one that they created for these 2K events for all B58 and S58 owners to race. So he beat all the other Supras, all the other M240i's, all the other M3s, everybody and won the actual trophy for the X58 class. So big congratulations to Tom. He said he's going to be coming back next year to defend the title. So hopefully everybody takes this year to really step their game up, because we're going to have a lot of competition coming. Now, that wasn't all the great news, because we also have a new Supra record. Like I said, this made me nervous with how fast he went, but thankfully B58s continued to go faster as well. So the EOS Supra is the one that we're going to talk about here. They came right off of the trailer and immediately ran a 7.7, so that was amazing for them. That actually made them the #1 qualifier at the time for the X58 class, so they're the ones that took it from Tom. And then in a later run, it was actually funny, they raced against Tom, and that is the race where they broke the record. So as you can see, they ran a 7.49 at 194 miles an hour. So this is an improvement from their previous best that they ran at import versus domestic last year. Crazy that now we're looking at bottom 7. So hopefully this gets us closer to the 6-second range at some point. But really amazing times for these guys. And again, they have the same setup as far as I can tell that we talked about in the previous video. So they've got a Billiam built engine. It's a 3.2 liter stroker, along with a pure drivetrain solution stage 3 transmission. And they're running a top mount turbo kit with an Apex turbo. And they ditched their air-to-water intercooler for a front mount air-to-air intercooler setup. So it's still using the EOS intake manifold, but without the core inside. It's more like a traditional manifold just designed for airflow. So obviously the setup's working really well. Apparently multiple times during the day, they said that they were looking at 750s, but maybe it actually surprised them that they went even further and ran a 749. So really huge accomplishment from them. Now let's talk about some honorable mentions with the Gen 1 guys. So we of course had Bimmer hubs show up, but unfortunately they had some issues. It seemed like their torque converter needed to be replaced. They swapped their turbo to an 8685, which is an incredibly huge monster. And so they were having issues spooling it up. But once they replaced their torque converter, they were able to get it back running. And they basically said this event for them was just kind of testing. So they were able to get an 850 pass. So that's a little bit slower than their 835 pass, but still they were able to run a good mile an hour. So hopefully we see more from them this year and that car continues to get faster. And then another one that might not be on your radar yet, but it's a car that's local to me. It's built by O-Tuned here in Cincinnati, and it is a Gen 1 340i that is running an 8085 turbo. Now this car is really fast. They built it last year and it ran an 8.9, but at TX2K, it ran a new personal best of 855 at 164 miles an hour. So that is incredible. I think at this point that actually makes them the fastest, not quite the quickest yet, but they're working on chasing down that 830 record pass. But at 168 miles an hour, that makes them the new fastest 340i in the world. So a credible accomplishment to those guys. And if you want to keep up with them, follow the shop page, O-Tuned, or you can follow the cars page, S1K_F30, and that's where you'll see all the latest updates from that build. So incredible accomplishments all around. As always, TX2K is the time to kind of showcase what your car can do after the upgrades you did over winter and get some time while the air is still good to see what it can do. But definitely curious to see what else happens throughout the rest of the year into the fall. And as always, I'll keep you guys updated on the channel as things develop. So more coming soon, but for now, that's it for this video. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope this helps. And if you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below.